Right, so I believe that we have reached a critical mass to start off. Welcome to this webinar about integrated TMS solutions, key cost-effective transportation management. We believe that this is really a topic that has a high interest in the market at the moment, and this is why we both, Mike and myself, wanted to have this webinar and give you a short introduction about us. So my name is Kai Peters. I'm in the supply chain logistics industry for more than 20 years, different functions, coming from an LSP, now more than 10 years within 4Flow. And so quite experienced, have seen a lot customers, a lot of things in the market, and happy to share this know-how with you. And together with me, my long-lasting partner from Alpega, Mike.
Yeah, warm welcome from my side as well. So, and many thanks for having me. So my name is Michael Böckle from Alpega. And yes, meanwhile, I'm also more than 2 decades in supply chain technology space. And guess what? I'm still passionate about it because in that area, you never get bored. So it's really nice with moving environment and also obviously also developments in the technology space. So happy to be here and quite excited to have a nice conversation with you now, Kai.
Yes, thank you, Mike. So passionate, that's a good thing. So because when we have learned something, that it is that things are changing, and in the current situation we have really a challenging environment, and this is what we would like to talk with you about today. So about the actual challenges and how to overcome them, what are the possibilities you have, what you should consider to be really the manager of your supply chain. And of course, we will also show you a little bit what 4Flow or Alpega can do for you to reach really another level of maturity within your supply chain expertise. So let's get started. From my point of view, or from our point of view, we have challenges currently in supply chains that you might see all the time. And the 4 major challenges we see here, it's supply bottlenecks, it's fluctuation, it's uncertainty, and it's for sure cost. And what we would like to discuss or to present to you today is how they are depending from each other. What can we do? So if we're talking about supply bottleneck, it's also that Gartner stated that more than 75% of the supply chains cannot cope with the supply bottlenecks. So it is really a strategic point that you have to deal with, that you have to react on, that suppliers are shutting down, that you have to change the supplier. So there's really a lot of things going on, even in the supply bottlenecks. Fluctuation, that's the second challenge that we are facing. So it's really volatile times. So business is going up and down, and you have to be flexible to start and stop your supply. You have to react very fast, and it's obviously that you cannot just think in your silo and believe that you can manage it in this way. So you have to be agile, and the fluctuation is giving you a lot of issues. Uncertainty, that's of course very dominant the last 2-3 years. So we have war very close by here in Europe. We have an issue between Europe and China about taxes, about upcoming trade war. On top of that, we have now a new US president who is also giving more uncertainty about taxes. So it's really a critical situation. And all of this together has for sure a huge impact on cost. So it's cost is influenced by fluctuation, by supply bottlenecks, by the uncertainty. The costs are going up and down. So it's really important that you are aware what's going on in your supply chain. And beside this, also the pure freight costs are going up and down. And it is really something that you have to keep in mind and that you have to deal with. So this is the overall situation, how we see it. And yeah, Mike, what can we do about it?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to also reconfirm that this definitely are the challenges, and especially in that fluctuation space. So you mentioned the supply and demand fluctuation, and obviously it's even worse because it's not only on the material side, but also on the transport market, meaning the transport prices are also quite volatile. So combining those two effects, it's quite a challenging situation for a lot of customers and supply chain managers. And yes, I like the term the never normal. So that's the world we are living in today. And besides this general challenges Kai just explained, there are further triggers and further trends that also frame the modern supply chain. So obviously the challenges are already highlighting this relevance of the supply chain of the future, but technology is also a major driver which helps transforming supply chains today. And technology, for instance, is enabler for proactive and combining AI and machine learning, for instance, into that technology, also even predictive management of supply chain. So that's a driver that is, besides the market challenges, I would say, really is influencing how new supply chains look like in the future. In addition to that, technology, of course, also is an enabler to optimize and reduce costs, and also to reduce the carbon emissions. So sustainability is not only on marketing level, I would say, anymore. So it's becoming real and reality. And just an important fact also on that. So looking into the emissions of a company, so they are split into scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And in the scope 3 emissions, there are the logistics emissions and transport emissions included. The scope 3 is 10 times higher than the scope 1 and 2 together. So that means, so if you reduce your emissions, optimize your carbon footprint in logistics, that has really a massive impact on your corporate or company GHG footprint. So that's quite important. And now, why do we say there is a new role of supply chain management? So the new role of supply chain management, there is obviously supply chain management or logistics always was about bottom line performance. So mainly costs, inventory, transport costs reductions. That's one aspect, but it's now with that uncertainties and disruptions in the supply chain, even more important that supply chain management also has a high impact on the top line. Why? Because the supply chain ensures the resilience, or you need a resilient supply chain to ensure the company performance. That means very high impact on your customer satisfaction, and by that, of course, also on the top line. So the new role of supply chain management is not only to operate a supply chain anymore, it's really to become a real competitive advantage. So that's our belief, and that's what we also see with several of our customers, that they really step up in the relevance in the company. So that's it from my side. So that's the framing how those I would say market and technology drivers change the future of supply chain from my point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good starting point from my perspective. So, and it's giving really the frame of what is needed. So, and maybe we go a little bit deeper into it. What do we believe is really needed? And as we explained, the current situation from our perspective, it is absolutely needed that you need to have a constant planning and optimization. And in best case, you have a proactive planning and optimization. So we all agree on that, because otherwise you're simply not able to react on what's going on in your supply chain. You have to predict what's coming up. And from our perspective, you need to adjust, or you need to work with your transportation network, and it must be constantly adapted to the challenging situation, to the challenging demands. And at the same time, you need to deal with the volume and the frequency, and this has certainly a huge impact on your network, and how you allocate the transport volume into your network. So and here we see a clear need that you plan and optimize constantly about your network. Mike, what's your opinion on that?
Well, so absolutely. So, and you mentioned proactive planning and optimization, and it's quite essential to be proactive. You need to have visibility, and you would wonder how many customers do not have visibility of their material flows or transport flows in general. But the next level even is not only visibility ex post, but real-time visibility. So that's what we see more and more, and also heavily driven by technology providers in the real-time visibility space, like a P44, Shipio, and such colleagues that really do telematic tracking and feed that back into the control tower solution. So that's, I would say, the next level, which really enables our customers then to act on real-time events. But that's still reactive. So the next step is then, and the level 3 from my point of view, is then really proactive. And that's visibility on the other side. And I always say supply chain per se is collaborative, because you have so many different participants: your suppliers, your factories, your warehouses, your customers, your transport providers. So it's really per se a lot of different participants in the supply chain. And a key success factor from our point of view is you need a control tower solution that really enables and ensures this collaborative way of working. So everybody needs to have the same information at the same point in time, and can act and react fast. Which brings me already to the next aspect. We are absolutely convinced you need to have and to foster, that is agility. So it's quite simple. So agility in an ever-changing world is not a nice to have. It's a necessity, and that is not a system question. So agility, of course, you need a system that supports your agility or is quite flexible to configure. But you also need to set up an organization and processes that can work in an environment that is agile and has to adapt in a fast way. So setting up an agile organization is at least as important as having the right solution in place. So that's agility, and also the continuous improvement aspect, but also cost control and optimization. So costs are back. So really cost optimization and cost savings are back to the business cases more than they were the last years even. And that's also starting with you need to start having a thorough cost control and optimization process. It starts with a very simple thing, and I'm really wondering how many customers still do not have that transparency. For instance, you should ensure that only transports that were executed on time and in full are paid according to the rates. Quite many companies still do not have that clarity and visibility, so they pay for transports that were not on time and in full effectively. So that's one step. So really cost control. You also need a decent level of transparency in order to proper optimization. That means you need not only, okay, I had freight spend in that country of XYZ, you need the different cost types. What were the demurrage costs? What's toll? What's fuel? And with that information, you are even better in optimizing and bringing down your costs. So that's it from my side. But now, how can we really get this efficiency also specifically from a planning perspective?
Yeah, so from a planning perspective, that's from our point of view really a crucial part. And as you said, the network or transportation network supply chains are constantly changing. So we have from our perspective two main levels. It's the first level, that's the network volatility, so the overall network and the changes here. And then if you have a network, then you have the shipments, and the shipments are also volatile. And on both levels, you have to react. Let's start with network volatility. You mentioned a lot of things that might change in the supply chain. And this is what we see. So it's long and midterm, where you have to define, how does my network look like? Where are my warehouses? Where are my cross-dock locations? Where are my customers? Where are my suppliers? You simply have to map it out and visualize it. And then you can see, where are my flows? And based on this, you can then decide, okay, what's the optimal network for me? And here it's really your decision. You should not depend on a certain LSP or a carrier who has some preferences or has to fill a network. No, it's your network, and you have to decide what kind of transportation modes I would like to use. And this is also important, by the way, if you then go out for sourcing the right network, you need to know how should your network look like, because otherwise, if you just go out and repeat the old RFQ from 3 years before, then you might get rates, but are these the right rates? You don't know. So this is what we see in network volatility. You have to be agile, and you have to adapt your network to your requirements. And at the same time, you can also build here scenarios saying, okay, what if I increase my volume or my market penetration in a certain region? How do my network react on this? And at the same time, if the demand is dropping, how does your network react? Do you need alternative routes for certain lanes? So, and all these things you can do upfront, and you can really play around with your network. And the second level, then it's the shipment volatility. As we heard, it's also going up and down. And here we are talking more the short midterm, more short-term view on the market. So with a clear planning about the shipments, you also can secure capacity on the market, because you have a preview of what's coming up. And with the shipment volatility, then you can really play around and say how to increase the utilization of my trucks. Can I prepone or postpone certain shipments? And also here you have to do this day-to-day work to react on the changes of the volumes of the handling units. All of a sudden your supplier is changing the handling units. And all this needs to be planned and optimized. And this is why we have this clear focus here on that there is a planning phase between the call off or the sales order, and if you really hand it over to the carrier or to the LSP. Well, there we see a lot of potential where you can really work with your network. And if it sounds a little bit theoretical for you, Mike, can you give us an example?
Yeah, I try so. Many thanks, Kai. And now, how does that look now from a, I would say, from a overall business case perspective? And what we did is we collected typical business cases, cross customers, cross different industries, and split it out a little bit. Where is these cost savings coming from? And let's start with the first block. And Kai already mentioned it. So you should understand your transport network and your demand in the network properly, because that is the key input for your freight sourcing process. And in the freight sourcing process, in an ever-changing world, you can't do tenders all 3 years anymore. So that's something you really need to consider. You need to tender more often. The frequency of tenders is increasing massively in all modes of transport, by the way, for air, road, and ocean. And that is simply because of the demand is, the supply and demand is changing, as well as the freight costs are changing massively. So you need to do that more frequently, and you should do that in accordance and with usage of benchmark functionalities. So that it really helps you with real-time benchmarks, mapping out your responses to the tender. Is that really a good and solid offering, or should you still go further? So that's the freight sourcing process, and it is mainly about doing a more optimized and balanced sourcing, and not about squeezing out carriers. So that's not the main aspect here. It's really doing it in a proper way, doing it according to your demand, and doing it in the right frequency at the right point in time. And that delivers already a quite nice saving potential of 2 to 5%. All these potentials you see here are based on your freight spend. So that's the typical KPI we are using to evaluate business cases. So a typical customer, mid-sized customer, is a 100 million freight under management customer. So, and you can see that is really, really relevant absolute numbers as well, typically also. So that's sourcing, and then moving to the next block that delivers savings. So that's the planning aspect, and Kai already mentioned it. It is really also that keyword was continuous. Continuous means that you really have also here quite fast iterations. You do a strategic planning, which is more mid, long term. You do a tactical planning, which is already considering the nearer future, where you have better information, and then really the dynamic one, which is then really the real information you need to have this delivery or this material delivered now tomorrow from A to B. And this helps you to really get the best out of your network. And the main aspects here are you find the best way through your network, maybe via consolidation point, a hub, and you utilize your means of transports in a much better way, which means you are not driving around with air in your truck, but hopefully a quite nicely utilized truck. So that's then the largest portion. So these levels of planning are 3 to 8% of saving potential. And then at the end of the planning process, obviously you should execute that thing. Means you need to give the correct information to your carrier, do the real-time tracking, identify potential exceptions also. And in this execution part, it's mainly, and the keyword here is automation. So it's automation. You should have your happy flow done on automatically and just focus on the exceptions. And unfortunately, there will be exceptions. So, and with this execution and a lean execution process, you can gain further 1 to 3% over your freight spend. And moving last but not least to the freight costs. Even the freight cost management on its own has a saving potential. And why is that? Coming back to my words before, so it already starts with you should only pay for transports that were executed on time and in full, and based on the right tariffs. So that's something in several of our customer cases, just implementing a proper freight cost management already delivered 2 to 5%. And doing that in a collaborative, highly automated workflow with a system also helps you to do that in a proper and efficient, process efficient way. So that's the high level overview. And at the end, so the range is from 8 to 21% over your freight cost. So that's really quite a relevant number. And obviously it depends on the as is situation and also the maturity level of the customer that is starting up with a new system. Yeah, so
really substantial savings potential that you are describing here, and but yes, I fully agree to that. And to me, it seems that it's not only technology driven or not only in the logistics department. It seems to be that it's more a perception of how we would like to react in the market or in our supply chain as a company. So can you explain this a little bit, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. So of course, a solid business case is the foundation to start off a control tower initiative, control tower program. That's for sure, because without a proper business case, it doesn't make any sense anyhow. But that rarely is the problem, that the business case is not given. So it's really more or less an other challenge we see at the moment with a lot of our customers, and that is that it is a team sport. So implementing a control tower, it is really a team sport, and it is not just a transport or a logistics team. It's really cross company. And according also to a quite recent Gartner research, there is in most of the companies, there is a strategic gap between the corporate commitments and performance targets on the one side, and the capabilities and capacity of the supply chain organizations on the other side. That means that it is super essential to get a strategic alignment of supply chain set up with the corporate goals. And that's what we visualized here. So it's really about to map those corporate targets out with your supply chain targets and involve the relevant stakeholders as early as possible into that discussion. So that's the high level challenge we see. Digging a little bit more into the detail. So what is still a fact very often in a lot of companies, logistics or supply chain does not have a seat on board level, and that makes it even more relevant to involve the proper stakeholders, because at the end budgets are tight, and there is a quite relevant situation in the market at the moment that is competing on the same resources as a lot of supply chain transportation control tower programs. And that's a common example. That's the SAP S/4HANA projects that are quite heavily in the market at the moment. So it is projected that around 37% of the SAP ECC customers are at least subscribed, not live with S4 until end of this year. That is a bunch of around about 20,000 customers that are in running SAP projects at the moment. But there is a lot of customers still facing that challenge. And that is one aspect. So that's really consuming and absorbing massive resources in the form of IT resources, in the form of business capacities that are required to do and run such projects, and of course, obviously also in the form of money as resource. So that is quite challenging, and in addition to that, looking into, and we've seen dozens of SAP rollouts programs for S4 now, because we are supporting a lot of our customers with that, with our TMS. You do not see a TMS or a logistics control tower at the beginning of such projects. So it's cross company, and the rollout plans foresee the supply chain aspects very often very late on the rollout, meaning after 3 years, after 5 years, according to plan. So that's something that simply blocks business projects often for years. And the essential question then is, can you really afford waiting for several years until you turn your supply chain into a competitive advantage? That's the question here. And some of our customers said, no, that's not working. That's too far out, and we need to move faster because the market is changing faster. So, and good news, we have 3 main aspects how we think you can solve that challenge. Number 1, coming back to the stakeholder management, get your seat at the board level in which form ever. So that can be by involving the right stakeholders or really be part of the board. Number 2, map out the company performance targets with your supply chain capabilities and really jointly develop your roadmap for the future supply chain. And thirdly, you need a solution that helps you gapping and bridging this SAP challenge. So you need a solution that helps you working with a TMS, regardless how fast or how slow the SAP rollout goes forward. So that means you need something that works even with ECC and S4 in parallel. Otherwise, you have an operational challenge. So that's absolutely true, what you said. So it is not about a system, it's about much more. So it's really, as said, a team sport to make it happen, Kai. I hope that helped.
Yeah, sure. So, and it's really a team sport. And yeah, to stay in this picture, in a team sport, you need a good team, and you also need a system which you would like to play, let's say it this way. And we have defined some cornerstones now, where we say, okay, in the end, we have this planning optimization part, and on the other hand, we have this execution, real-time visibility, freight cost management part. So we have seen these 2 aspects, and we have explained why it's important for us. And we have summarized this here on this picture. So the light blue, that's more the planning, optimization, proactive part, and the darker blue, that's more related to the execution and the real transportation world. However, they are working closely together. So, and as I mentioned before, so as a result of the network planning, it's your resourcing part. And then it's going to be this tactical and continuous planning part. And really after that, then just hand it over, or just, it's an easy one, hand it over to the execution world. And here it's important, and that's also one of the benefits the Alpega system is having here. It's you have the shipment execution, and even you have done strategic sourcing, you still need to go from time to time onto the spot market. So, and here's again the collaborative approach, where we say, okay, you need to also involve other partners, because the market is volatile, the shipments or the volume is going up and down. You might need additional capacity on the market, and this is why it's, for example, important that you have also here during the execution the possibility to go onto the spot market. And it's also again a closed loop, and this is why we made it a closed loop. Even if you go to the spot market, you want to have it later in your freight cost management. So there's nothing outside the system. You need to have everything within the system. And such a system, which is then used for road shipment, for air freight, for sea freight, for cab, multimodal. So it must be really the cornerstone or the centralized system for your supply chain. And by saying this, we don't even have mentioned there's more outside. So there's like dock scheduling or real-time visibility or the whole thing of packaging or reusable packaging. That has also a huge impact. And also this, especially reusable packaging, need to be planned, optimized, and combined with your standard flows. So it's all coming together in one system. And the one system really needs to be the backbone of your supply chain. And as Mike said, we cannot wait 4 or 5 years until it comes from a project perspective into the picture. So you need to act now. You need to implement and to improve your supply chain and make it really an advantage.
Yeah, many thanks. And this is a nice picture. So for me, that's really combining best of breed solutions. So I think, and that's something that really is also my belief, that the best of breed approach, especially for such domains like supply chain, transportation, simply is the better one. So we see a lot of customers struggling with the best of suite approach on the other side, because they even do not get the right consultancy around. So it's not also here not only about the system, it's really about the full service you need at the end to make it happen. Yeah, many thanks.
So, and the point of the consultancy, that's also an important thing. So you and I were in this market together, let's say more than 40 years.
Yeah, together, yes.
Yeah, we have a lot of experience here.
And
would you like to hand your supply chain into the hands of a quite young consultant? No, because you need to have really the flavor of supply chain management. You need some of these old guys to help you forming your supply chain. It's only about me. It's not you, Mike. You are not. I didn't say you're old. Come on. Maybe give some examples of
yeah, sure. Yeah, it's not only the two of us that are convinced of the approach and the solution. It's also effectively the customers. And let's let the customer case speak at least. So the customer ACCO is one of our joint customers using this integrated transportation management system. And the key challenge of ACCO several years back was due to the fact that they had several mergers and acquisitions on the way with companies like Challenger, Fend, GSI, Ferguson, and they had a super decentralized, heterogeneous supply chain. Process, organization, systems, super fragmented, and that obviously is a challenge. And that in a network with a quite high freight spend, so triple-digit millions globally, and 1,500, around about 1,500 suppliers. So that's a complex inbound network. So that was the focus in the phase one to get the inbound flows managed properly. And in that case, we started with a pilot in Europe and then rolled it out globally. So the full-blown system from planning down to execution. And we implemented it and rolled it out globally in 18 months. So that was also the time framing around. And what is really impressive is the result. So the result is a reduction of 28% of logistics costs. And that's, as you can imagine, a quite nice and relevant number again. And the two main drivers are, number one, reduction of transport costs. continuous planning, consolidation, utilization up. So that was number one. Number two was inventory costs down. So inventory at hand could be reduced by 24%, as you can see on the slide. And in order to reduce the inventory, the transportation management flows were the most relevant enabler, because the implementation of the transport system and the collaborative approach with the suppliers of Akku, so the 1,500 suppliers also actively work with the TMS on the inbound flow, enabled to improve the network performance by 25%. That means the on time in full delivery. And this gave the foundation to really reduce the inventory accordingly. So that's the two main aspects, how Akku could really turn their supply chain into an advantage, because that was not a one-time effect. This continuous planning and is fed and based on an organization that really does that on the daily business now, and they really can act far faster on any changes in the market, regardless if it is on supply, demand, or on the transport side. So they have planning capabilities. They have their scenarios in the pocket when a disruption comes. So they are really agile. So that's quite cool to see that this helped Akku also in the most recent, I would say, challenges on the market. Yeah, that's it from my side. But I think, Kai, you also have another example out of another industry, which is quite interesting to our audience.
Yes, correct. So based on your example, Mike, so this was a company in a special situation, mergers and acquisitions to reshape their transportation network. And on the other hand, we have here an example of Mars, well-known brand, and they had a different level of maturity within their supply chain. So they had already a transport management system, by the way, one from Alpega, and they start to think on how can we improve it and what is missing. And this is where ForeFlow came into the picture, and we first defined a target strategy, what we would like to achieve and what is needed. So we built a collaborative approach, saying, okay, we have a good foundation, but how to improve? And how to improve was then again this planning and optimization part, and to be able to have a predictive approach, creating these scenarios. What if I increase my volume on a certain market, and so on. And this is what Mars is really seeing as a company advantage, or an advantage for their supply chain. And really they made it to their own system, or to their own strategy, and it's called Transportation Mars Operating System. So they see it really as an advantage, having a system in place that allows to plan, execute, react, do optimization constantly, and this is them really giving a supply chain excellence. And this is why Mars is very proud on it. And they went out to certain awards, and they won the award. So because they have changed from the level they are, from their level of maturity to a next level. And this is always beneficial to companies and to the market.
Yeah, that's really a nice example how technology really can help customers to level up their maturity level in supply chain. So that's really quite cool, and even award-winning. So also nice for us.
Yeah, nice for us, nice for the company, because they can use it, of course, for marketing reasons, and saying, okay,
yeah, sure.
We are able to guarantee you a sustainable supply chain. So that's quite good.
Yeah, so then maybe Kai, let's move on and give a quick layout of our cooperation, which we are having since also almost 2 decades now as Forflow
Yeah,
and Alpega.
correct. Correct. So Forflow and Alpega, we are working together then since almost 20 years. Um, and we see really certain advantages in working together. So on the Forflow side, we have a consulting part, software and 4PL control tower setup. And we are the expert in planning, optimization, shaping the supply chain into the right direction. And this is why we have created together with Alpega a TMS solution, which includes the planning part. On the other hand, we are partnering also with companies like Kinaxis. If you are in an S&OP process and you already want to optimize and plan there, we have something what we call TLO, Transport Load Optimizer. So it's something which is very early in the supply chain where you already start to plan and optimize. So this is really in our DNA. And we as Forflow, we are doing this for more than almost 25 years. We have 20 locations all around the world. And yeah, that's what we are working for, and yeah, partnering since a couple of years with you, Mike.
Yes, so and our layout, and that's the perfect match here is so Alpega is a software as a service transport management system provider. So focusing and that's what Kai already mentioned on the execution part more, combining it with the Forflow planning capabilities. And our TMS, meanwhile, is since more than 15 years in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for TMS. So we are quite proud of that. And basically, we are more or less the only TMS pure play vendor in out of Europe for now in the quadrant, and especially strong because of a USP that really is essential for most of our customers, and that is that we are combining our shipper transport management system with a freight exchange. And we have 3 freight exchanges combined with our TMS. With those three freight exchanges where the trade between the freight forwarders and the carriers is going on. We have the second largest on the European market, and this combination really allows a direct access of our shippers to freight and transport capacity on the market. So that's unique. We are the only TMS vendor combining those two worlds, really crossing shipper, freight forwarder, and carrier capabilities. And that's manifested in around about 80,000 freight forwarders and carriers in our network meanwhile. So that's Alpega in a nutshell, I would say.
Very good, very good, interesting, and yeah, it's a very successful partnership, as we can see on the logos at the bottom. So we have substantial customers working exactly in this way. So maybe we summarize our thoughts a little bit before we come to the questions.
Yep.
Yeah,
Let's do so. Well, one of the key takeaways we want to bring to your attention is, as mentioned, it is a team sport, and it starts with aligning the strategy, the corporate strategy, with your supply chain program. So really, that's the approach we really recommend because that's the most successful one, which makes it happen until the finish line. Because we saw a lot of customers not doing that, and then they started stalling it even, and the projects were stopped finally. So that's our advice number 1. Kai?
Okay, so yeah, our advice is that, and this is where we are coming from the consulting side as well. So you need to consider where you are in your supply chain maturity level. So are you already reach a certain level, or are you starting from scratch, which is very rarely nowadays. So, but you need to understand where is your level, and start then to define a strategy how to optimize your supply chain. And we have given you examples on what we believe is necessary to optimize, and to have a full picture. So yeah, this is our second advice. Judge where you are and start to define your strategy from this starting point.
And the next point, found it on a solid business case. So that's something most of the customers, or most of the ones that are on the way, are doing already. But what we also can bring to the table here is experience. So we can support our customers as Alpega, but also with consultancy from Forflow, with really business case analysis, network analysis, and really make it very concrete and tangible, and even go that far that we identify concrete potential in your network where you can change something and save money right away. So that's something we really like to highlight once more. So that's I would say quite obvious, but even the obvious is not always always something that is performed.
That's right. That's right. Yes. So, and the last point in our summary is just to ensure that your control tower solution is really an integrated one. So it's not just that you need to have a proper execution, to have a proper carrier management. You need to do this planning optimization to be able to react or to find an answer to these challenges we have described right at the beginning. So in here, it's really needed that you have the integration between planning, optimization, execution, exception management. So it's a quite complex environment, and of course it's quite complex. And this is also why we as Forflow, as part of our service offering, have also a 4PL setup, which means if you would like to outsource this and you do not want to establish your own control tower, you can also do this with Forflow. And we are using exactly the system that we have described, because we believe that this is the best solution we can have on the market. Yes, that were our thoughts so far. So
Very good.
Yeah, looking at the time, yes, we have a couple of minutes for some questions, and I would like to start with the first question concerning the end-to-end solution. How many tools are sensible to have it, in your opinion? Yeah, this is what we try to explain. So first, you have to define what is really needed to improve. And yeah, as we explained, we believe that at least planning is needed, and execution and freight cost management are really the core parts of the end-to-end solution that you need. And start from there. You can then just add additional things like the dock management or packaging or real-time track and trace, but you have to build a solid foundation and start from there. Do you agree, Mike?
Absolutely. So, and that's coming back to the maturity level. Review where you are, start crawling, walking, and then run. So that's also something. So you should not overpace it on the other side. So I'm absolutely in line with what you said. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So there, I think, is one I will take. So how complex is integration with existing ERP legacy systems? Well, in general, I would say the complexity of integration is not too high. So if you say, okay, you have one legacy system, you need to think about, okay, you need deliveries, you need a little bit of master data, and you need the load level and the freight cost. So it's 4 interfaces, logical interfaces typically, and for the common ERP systems, SAP, ECC, S4, but also several others. We have standard interfaces available, so that makes it quite fast and easy. Even though, of course, the complexity comes with heterogeneous ERP landscapes. So we have also customers with 20 different ERP systems. Well, then the complexity of integration is a little bit different, but to be handled. So far, the interfacing at the end is not the biggest challenge, I would say. So it's work, but that's something we handle quite nicely. And as said, we have standard interfaces, which makes it far easier to integrate with the key ERP systems on the market. Hope that helped.
Yeah, I fully agree. So, and there's one question, an additional question. Do you have examples on how the integrated TMS can scale? Yes, we have. So the question, or to simplify it, it's always start small and scale fast. So what we often do during the project is that we define a pilot plant, pilot region to set it up, to have also the new processes established, that everybody understands what to do. And from there, you can then start having more plants or more regions integrated, or more countries. Let's stick it to the countries first. So within here in Europe, you can really have a phased rollout approach. Or in the other dimension, you can also add then more or other modules of the end-to-end tool, or of the execution tool, and then just add other things to that. So yes, we're believing in this scaling approach, because it makes it digestible for you as a customer.
Yeah, and that fits also. I just saw another question popping up in the chat. The scalability is not only linked to the maturity level, but also to the size potentially of a customer. That means a small, maybe not medium-sized, definitely yes, is relevant for TMS. So we have a setting or a bundle that is easy to integrate and implement, also for smaller companies, and that also scales then. And we have integrations with enterprises with several hundred millions of freight under management. So also this is scalable. So also mid-sized companies are our customers already today. Definition of mid-sized companies. So typically the scenarios start with 10 million freight per year. So that's roughly what we see, but that's not a showstopper to discuss anyhow.
All right. Thank you, Mike. I believe, unfortunately, we have to come to an end. The hour was flying, and for us, Mike, for me, for myself, it was really a pleasure talking to you about these challenges. And
Same here.
At the other hand, you see on the screen, you can book a free consulting to discuss your requirements with us. You will end up on a form page. However, we will ensure that Mike gets also in the calls, or somebody from Alpega. And you have our direct contact details here. So feel free to contact us and to go into an in-depth discussion. Mike, closing words from your side.
Yeah, many thanks also from my side. It was a pleasure, as usual. Nice conversation, a fruitful conversation. I hope it was also good to listen in from the audience, and hope to see you soon.
Same from my side. Thank you, and hope to talk to many of you very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.